Hello, welcome to That VidBlaster Guy. I'm Tom Sinclair, That VidBlaster Guy. Got a great show for you today. At least I think it's going to be a good show. You know about these shows, you just never know how they're going to end up. You can have the best notes and the best plans, and shows just don't always turn out. Hey, our idea is that one guy with one PC can do one darn good broadcast. If you've got something that you're passionate about and you want to take that word to the community, to the state, to your whole country, to your whole region of the world, to the whole world, you can do it with one PC, a good, fast internet connection, and VidBlaster, of course, my favorite live video production software. It really can be done. Passion is the key. Definitely passion is the key, because it's not a science, guys. It's an art. A little tweaking here, a little tweaking there. You know, a little salt and pepper over here, a little garlic salt over there. And before you know it, you've got a creation that works pretty darn well. It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. And so if you're thinking about doing something for your church or for your community, for your school, do it for yourself. You can do it with VidBlaster and a single PC. You don't need a room of PCs. You can do it all on one PC. Today, right now, we are streaming this live at a resolution of 864 by 480. I'll tell you about that foible in just a second. At 30 frames a second, and we are recording it, and later on we'll upload it to YouTube. And we're producing it with VidBlaster. We're streaming it with Wirecast, and we've actually been testing vMix as a potential streamer too. So, you know, sometimes it's a combination of different tools to get the job done. Coming up in segment 2 today, this is segment 1, obviously. Segment 2 on Streaming Idiots, we'll be talking about some of our recent PC builds. So if you're watching us live, you'll want to tune in for that. If you're watching us on YouTube, we post those on Friday, so that'll be there for you on Friday. If you've got a question about VidBlaster, shoot me an email, tom@thatvidblasterguy.com, and I'd be happy to help you at least with one question. If it goes further than that, we'll ask you to buy a support package so that you can get unlimited support. And if you're interested, I'm also a VidBlaster reseller, so you can buy VidBlaster from me directly, and you get tech support as part of the package. If you have VidBlaster and you want to upgrade to a newer version, you've got version 1 or 2 and you want to upgrade to version 3, or if you've got one of the editions like the Home or the Pro edition and you want to upgrade to Studio or Broadcast, I can help you with that. I would be delighted to. I make a small commission on it, and that's how I'm able to sort of fund this show and all the fun things that we do and trying out new pieces of hardware. I'm really excited about today's show because we've got some really cool stuff going on in the VidBlaster world. First, the breaking news, and this is breaking news as of, I think, this morning. Mike Versteeg, the developer of VidBlaster, has been experimenting with the VidBlaster streamer. Now, as you know, the streamer uses Flash Media Live Encoder to do the encoding kind of behind the scenes. And so the streamer has some choices in it that end up being settings that get set in FMLE 3.2. Well, a while back, somebody on the forum made the suggestion that Mike might want to look into a different encoder other than Flash Media Live Encoder, an encoder that might be a little easier on the CPU and might even do a better job. And what was suggested was something called FFmpeg. That's FFmpeg. And you can Google it and find out more about it. And it is an open source encoder, so lots of people have had a say in it and have been working. It's been in development for years. It is a tad complicated if you were going to use it. It doesn't have its own kind of fancy interface. It just uses the old MS-DOS command line. And so you put your command lines with all your settings and you know, basically it's a slash and then this and a slash and then that. And that ends up how it works. And it encodes live video. It encodes video for files to be uploaded to a video service. It's a very handy tool for those that know how to use it, but it's very complicated. Now, a couple of folks have developed some, what I would call a front end for it, a GUI, a graphic user's interface, and the GUI. Some of the GUIs are pretty good, but they can be limited as well. I mean, if this particular software has hundreds of different settings, sometimes it's tough to put all that available in a front end. So anyway, Mike has been experimenting with that, and one day it seems like he thinks it has possibilities, and the next day he thinks it's a piece of garbage. And the thing that I think that makes it worthwhile is the fact that FFmpeg has implemented X264, which is sort of a hybrid of H264, that has wonderful reviews. I think Wirecast 5 is using the X264 and has dropped CPU usage. Amnon Nissan with Computers 2K Now has reported that his computer CPU usage has gone way down. He's like me. He uses Wirecast to stream, but he uses VidBlaster to switch because it's so much easier to switch. I mean, everything's out there in front of you. At least I think it's easier because it's the one I know the best. I'm trying to learn Wirecast and vMix so that I can be at least somewhat objective in my opinion when I speak well about one over another. Anyway, sorry to get off track. Mike just posted this morning that he's been developing a new streamer module, and that new streamer module incorporates FFmpeg as its encoding engine. And that a couple of things that I thought were particularly interesting about this, and this was, I mean, let me stop right here and say, go read it for yourself. It's on the VidBlaster forum. It's forum.vidblaster.com. But what he said was that this new streamer module, when it streams, it also has the capability, he discovered almost by accident, to save a recorded file of the stream at the same time with very little extra CPU usage. Aha, that's the key right there, that you can save a file, you can record a file, and it just bumps the CPU up just a little bit. I think when we started the recording on this show today, it bumped the CPU up about 15%. Right now we're at just between 45 and 55%. This is a Intel i7 CPU, 2600K. It's not overclocked right now, so I guess that means, 3.2, 3.3 gigahertz. I've had it overclocked in the past, but I don't have it right now. I had it up to 4 at one point because I thought it would help. Anyway, this, to be able to save a file for just an increment more CPU is really good. He did say that the file was not particularly high quality video, and that initially it was just an FLV format. That's that flash format. But that he could, and now boy, this is where I'm getting into the deep end of the swimming pool, and I'm a shallow ender, as you know, that he could change the container to an MP4. Sound like I know what I'm talking about. So that it would be classified as an MP4 file. Now again, quality was not the best, but I can think of a situation. I can think of lots of situations because I've done them, where I've forgotten to press the record button on a sports broadcast or on any number of other kinds of broadcasts, and 5 minutes into the show, I'm like, oh man. So I start the recorder then, but I've lost the first 5 minutes. But if I could save it automatically to a file, then I've got an automatic backup. It may not be high quality, but medium quality is better than no quality at all. Wow. This is a bonus. So it's kind of like an emergency backup for folks, especially I would think for folks that are just starting out, when there's so much to think of on a broadcast, suddenly how do you allocate your time and your energies? And sometimes pressing that record button just gets lost in the shuffle. And to have it come automatically would be great. Now, would you want that for your best file? No, you wouldn't want that for the best. But let's say you were doing something that was irretrievable, a wedding, and you missed the first 5 minutes because you forget to press the record button. Well, if there was a way to edit the two files together and at least have the good quality video for the second part, and maybe just have to edit in 5 minutes at the very beginning, it wouldn't be the best, but it would be better than not. Better than not. The other thing that I gleaned and I noticed that Martin K is in the chat room, and he said essentially the FFmpeg saves the stream to a file so that it's the same quality as what you're streaming. Great. So it's not going to be worse than what you're streaming. It won't be better than what you're streaming. A lot of times folks will record in HD, but they'll stream in standard definition. And so in this case, you would have a standard definition stream. So today, for example, if I were doing it, forgot to press the record button, according to what Martin's saying, this automatic file would be of 480p because that's what I record at. That's what I stream at. So it would be, I stream and record at the same. I've been playing with other things, but not ready for prime time. The other thing that Mike indicated, and I'd have to double check with him to make sure, but he indicated that the audio codec in FFmpeg would be the AAC. That is pretty significant because Flash Media Live Encoder, unless you buy a license to AAC and implement it on your own PC by your own choice, as I guess some sort of add-in or whatever it is with Flash Media Live Encoder. I guess it's a codec that it can choose from on your hard drive. Unless you do that separately, you don't have the AAC opportunity, and that apparently is needed if you're going to stream to Apple devices without having the content delivery network do a bunch of re-encoding for you. It can pass, and again, I'm in the deep end of the pool on this stuff, but it can pass that AAC encoded audio through without having to have it re-encoded, excuse me, for the folks that are watching on their iPad or their iPhone. So, two little things snuck out in today's forum post from Mike Versteeg. You can find that at forum.vidblaster.com. I believe it was in the general discussion section. It was not a feature request per se. So it's really interesting. And I know Martin's got, if you're not watching live, you got to watch us live because we got the chat room here and got some great, really intelligent folks far above my pay grade that have all sorts of extra notes. And Martin's saying that the recorded file that FFmpeg makes is the same pixel size and same bit rate. So whatever you're streaming, you're saving. Hey, that's not bad. If you're streaming good quality, you've got a good quality recording. So that's the deal on FFmpeg and the new, I'm going to call it a new streamer module. That's what Mike called it. Apparently it's in the pre-alpha stages, maybe, unless there's somebody out there that's an alpha tester that's gotten a hold of it. Certainly I haven't heard anything about it being available in a beta. So we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed and keep an eye out on the forum in VidBlaster. Now, if a new beta is released, it'll show up in the forum, forum.vidblaster.com, and it will be in the download section. And so you can go there as a guest and visit and download it, or you can register as an unlicensed user and go in there and get it too. So that's forum.vidblaster.com. You'll want to do that. Something I ran into, and this is just a little side note, and maybe might save somebody some trouble. A little, shall we call it a glitch? A little anomaly. We might call it a bug. but I don't know. And I've only noticed it a couple of times, so you might want to test this and see. Every time I do a show, I have a profile, or basically I save a profile of the show, whatever I'm doing at the moment, my module setup. And this is my module setup today. You can see I've got the streamer, the switching bar across the bottom, and then I've got a row of modules right above it, and then I've got my monitor module, which of course is going to infinity right there, and then my camera, with the green screen with the green chroma keyed out, and then a bunch of other things going on, all sorts of things going on that I like to have there. And each time I do a show, I save a profile. So when I started today, getting ready for today's show, I loaded the profile from last week so that I could, somebody's posting in the chat room, is that live? Yes, that was live. Last week's profile is generally a good starting point for this week's show, and I'll go in and I'll tweak some things and I'll remove some modules and put some new modules in. And I remember noticing a while back that if I saved my profile and used the word profile as part of the file name, so I might save it as 4-30-14 space show space profile. If I saved it like that, VidBlaster adds a .profile extension to that. And so I end up with a file name that has the word profile in it twice. If I go to VidBlaster and go to File, what is it? File, Load Profile. That's right, Load Profile. That file that I've just saved doesn't appear on the list. But if I go to Windows Explorer and look there in that same subdirectory, sure enough, my file is there. So VidBlaster doesn't see it if it's got profile in the name. Isn't that interesting? Profile.profile somehow means that VidBlaster won't see it like it's supposed to. So don't make, the easy way is just don't use the word profile in your profile, because it's going to put a .profile at the end of it anyway. Let's see, what are we going to go to next? Let's talk about video tearing. Now again, I'm definitely I'm a shallow ender in this swimming pool, folks. I got little swimmies on here because I'm not allowed to go in the deep end, but I'm plunging into the deep end when we're talking about video tearing. One of the critiques of VidBlaster and vMix and Wirecast and other similar type programs is that in some cases, depending on your PC configuration, mostly your video card, that at higher resolutions, the PC has a hard time, what's the right word, rendering, putting the video on the screen in a way that doesn't look bad. And sometimes there'll be a little tear, a little horizontal line. Yes, horizontal is right to left and left to right. A little tear in the video where it almost looks like one half is one frame and another half is another frame. Now we're not talking about interlaced and deinterlacing, so we'll leave that discussion for another time with people that get paid more than me, higher pay grade. But video tearing is something, it's sort of an anomaly, and it is, there are different softwares have tried different things to fix it, or at least to minimize it. And I was reading a forum the other day, and I don't even remember what forum it was. It may have been an Adobe forum. I don't recall. I should have made a note of it. But the suggestion was to, it was a simple suggestion, was to turn on what used to be known as Aero, excuse me, Aero, and it was the kind of the graphical pretties that Microsoft put into Windows so that things would look, Windows would look pretty, and they would have translucent backgrounds and all sorts of things like that. And one of the first things when I build a PC is I go to the control panel and I go to System and Security, and then go to System and then Advanced System Settings, and I set, and I click the Adjust for Best Performance tab, and I'll show you that in just a second. But what they're saying is don't do that. Don't set it to Adjust for Best Performance if you want to prevent the video tearing. So I thought, okay, well, I'll try this. And so I went in and I adjusted my PC for, well, let me show you what I did. Let me pull a screen in here. Let's see, how should we do this? Yeah, I'm just going to bring it in here into my desktop. Nope, that's not going to work. Can't work. Oh yeah, you can see it there, but I can't click it if you see it there. So let me. This is an unrehearsed part of the show, but of course, almost everything I do is unrehearsed in the show. All right, let's do a screen capture here. Let me get a capture going right there. Select area, and what I'm going to select is, that ought to be enough. And that is the control panel in Windows 7. And in the control panel, I have a choice, and this is view by category. You'll notice over here, if I put it to icons, it's totally different. So I'm gonna show you the way that I know how to get there. It's System and Security, and then it's System. And then on the System menu, and obviously these windows are much bigger, it's Advanced System Settings, but I'm just showing you the parts that you need. And that brought up a tab. Let me bring that window over here in. And on the Advanced tab, right up here, it says Performance, Visual Effects, Processor Scheduling, Memory Usage, and Virtual Memory Settings. Ta-da! Let me drag that window in. There we go. Visual Effects. Select the settings you want to use for the appearance and the performance of Windows on this computer. I believe that most of the time, let Windows choose what's best for my computer is what's checked. I always used to go in and say Adjust for Best Performance, and then I would click Apply down at the bottom, which is just out of this screen capture. And all the windows would look, would go back to, what was it, Windows 3.1 look or something like that, a very primitive look to Windows, but, supposedly it was saving CPU cycles, and, it's all about the CPU cycles. And what this forum post said was, don't do Adjust for Best Performance, do Adjust for Best Appearance, and that will reduce video tearing. Okay, well, let's get out of this stuff. In fact, we'll just leave it the way it was and come back here. Well, I am a big believer, as you know, if you've watched this, if you watch the show much at all, that I'll try anything. I shouldn't, but I'll try something right before a show. The whole concept, well, not the whole concept, but a sub-concept of this show is I get to make the mistakes so that you don't. I'll do the dumb stuff and then tell you why not to do the dumb stuff and tell you what it looks like and hopefully scare you enough that you won't do the dumb stuff anymore. And we can both learn from my mistakes. That's part of the beauty of this show for me. I get to learn, but I can pass it along at the same time. And somebody's just posted a link in the chat room here that I'm trying to read and talk at the same time. That's always dangerous. Anyway, so I adjusted for best performance and went back to this Aero look and adjusted VidBlaster for high definition, 720, because I knew I would see the tearing in 720 and definitely in 1080. And pulled it up, and for me it was sort of a classic. I can generally take my right hand, with my fingers like this and move it through that center part of the screen, and there would be that cut line. And I did it at 720p, no cut line. I couldn't believe it. And my little hand was just going up and down, up and down, up and down. And then I adjusted it to 1080p and had a slight tearing, but not anything like what I had experienced before. And so if tearing has been something that you've struggled with, or perhaps it's kept you from moving into to high definition, have a try at that. I mean, it's a dumb, simple solution, but every now and then the dumb, simple solutions work. So, give it a shot. If it works for you, let me know. Send me a note, tom@thatvidblasterguy.com. And I'd love to, stack up the list of folks that say, hey, it works for me, hey, it works for me, hey, it works for me, because it's always fun to find those things and pass them along and have it benefit other people. So that's the tearing, video tearing, and adjust for best performance. Oh, and again, and this is Windows 7 now, because I don't do Windows 8. Control panel, system and security, system, advanced system settings. That'll get you there. All right. Last thing up on the decks today is, last week we talked about it, but we didn't show it. We talked about how to do a custom splash screen in VidBlaster. When you start VidBlaster for the first time, it pops up a little splash screen that says VidBlaster. Well, you can replace that with whatever you want. Your own little graphic. It can say, "Hi, Mom." It can be a picture of you. It can be anything you want. So we talked about that last week, but silly me, I should have just shown you. I mean, here it is. We're talking about video. Why not show you how to do it? So I have made up a video, and let me get it queued up right here, and we will show you how to do a custom splash screen in VidBlaster. You ready? Here we go. Hi there, it's Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster guy. Want to show you how to set up a custom splash screen so that when you start VidBlaster, it starts out with your logo instead of the VidBlaster logo. It's not anything illegal, it's allowed. I've got a little quick and dirty. You can see my little VidBlaster screen here with the logo here in the bottom. This is the one that I want to insert in place of the VidBlaster logo. This is my Sinclair Sports Network logo. And so what we have to do is we have to uninstall VidBlaster. But first, I've added a file in my downloads subdirectory where my setup VidBlaster 3.22 setup file is located, and it's called OEM Splash. And OEM Splash is, let's see if we can pull it up and show you. It is, let me try to grab it again. There we go. It is very simply the logo for the Sinclair Sports Network. So we'll X out of that. And what I have to do is I have to exit out of VidBlaster. So we'll do that. And then we'll bring in the control panel. And we'll select VidBlaster. We'll uninstall. If you're doing this at home, you may want to make a backup of your VidBlaster files, that is your profiles and things like that. Okay, VidBlaster been successfully removed. We'll get out of control panel. And now, since I've got the OEM Splash, and by the way, it has to be OEM Splash, the recommended dimensions are 433 by 299 pixels. Mine is 433 by 289, and so VidBlaster will stretch it a little bit to fill it up. So I have to have this OEM Splash, and that has to be the name of it, in the same subdirectory as my setup file. So I'll do the setup here by double-clicking. And we'll just go ahead and run this program and install it. And just take a second here to do all that. And it is successfully installed. Okay. And you need to restart Windows. Well, let's just not restart the Windows, and let's see what happens. So let's see if VidBlaster pops up. Did it install correctly? Yes, it did. And we'll pull it up here, and boom, did you see it? That was the new custom splash screen in VidBlaster. Let's turn it off and we'll show it to you again. That was kind of fun. There it is. So that's how you do a splash screen in VidBlaster. I'm Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster guy. It was been a lot of fun to bring this to you. It was just a little quickie, just for fun. So have fun with it. If you have any questions, shoot me a note, tom@thatvidblasterguy.com, tom@thatvidblasterguy.com. Boy, this is terrible. Let's add a camera 3 module. Let's get rid of this one. Remove that module. Now we can go and pick out the Logitech C920 here. And I'm still washed out. I need to adjust the cam. Anyway, sorry about that. End of the tutorial. Holler if you have. How I can get sidetracked. I'm sorry. It was just like, oh, I look washed out. Let me see if I can fix that. So anyway, if obviously what I did is I took an installation where VidBlaster was already installed. I uninstalled it and then reinstalled it because I had the VidBlaster setup file in my downloads subdirectory, and so I put that oemsplash.png file in the same subdirectory so it would see it. Now, OEM Splash was not the name that the graphic had originally. I renamed it that so that VidBlaster would know to find it. But have fun with that one. It can be a lot of fun. Our time together in segment 1 is just about done. It's been a great time bringing this show to you today. We had lots of fun. If you want more information on VidBlaster, shoot me an email, tom@thatvidblasterguy.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and that way you'll get a notice whenever we post a new video. We post this show on Wednesdays right after the show. And then segment 2 today, which will be Streaming Idiots, we post on Fridays, so you can watch it live on Wednesdays, but it's not available on YouTube until Fridays. To give you something to watch over the weekend, you know. Us geeks, we don't have anything better to do. Anyway, on behalf of myself, thanks for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you again on that VidBlaster guy. Let's see if we can gracefully exit this program now without being too silly, because sometimes I just have a hard time doing this. Let's try again.